God calls me to just love people really well and care for people really well. Because there's so many questions about like, is this okay? Is that okay? Is this wrong? Is, like, what's right? What's wrong? And I think there's so many questions for me around that. But the one thing that I never question is like, if there's anything that I know to do, it's just to love people well.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Follow to Lead podcast, a Christian leaders podcast powered by EBEB Solutions, energy benefits for every business. Go to ebebsolutions.com today and get your free energy audit. It will literally save you time and money. Friends, today on the podcast, I'm so excited for you to hear from the director of operations for my podcast network, Fallon Klug. Fallon's a legend in the podcast industry. She works with so many incredible podcasters. I know you're going to love this conversation. We talk about influence, leadership, why she didn't initially want to put on the label of leader, her own personal growth, her story with Improv. There are so many incredible nuggets in this conversation. I know you're going to love it. And don't forget, we're still wrestling with the 12 most Googled leadership questions. So every single month, we're wrestling with a new question. This month, the question is, how do I know if I'm a leader? Fallon's the perfect person to help us wrestle with this. I can't wait for you to hear from her. Also, don't forget to take the benchmark. Follow the number 2 lead, benchmark.com. It's the best way to track your growth over the next year. Because this isn't about information, it's about transformation. That's what we want to do. I'd love to hear your results on the benchmark, so shoot me an email or hit me up on Instagram at twmilt or tony at twmilt.com. So now, here's a quick word from our partner and my conversation with Fallon Klug. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited today to have one of my dear friends, fellow podcaster extraordinaire, kind of like one of the queens of Christian podcasting, Fallon Klug. Fallon, thank you so much for being on the podcasts.
Thank you for having me. But man, that title, I'll take it. It doesn't feel right, but I'll take it. I appreciate it.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but you are the kind of the operator of the That Sounds Fun network, which I'm a proud partner of.
Yes.
So excited to be on the network. Love being on it. But as you know, this year, we're kind of leaning into wrestling with some questions that every month we're wrestling with a new leadership question. And this month we're wrestling with this question. So I'm going to let you start here.
Okay.
Fallon, how do I know if I'm a leader?
Well, a wise man once told me that if you have any influence, that you're a leader. Spoiler alert, Tony told me that.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that, right?
Yeah, let's talk about how we got here.
Yeah, let's talk about how we got here. Give us the story, kind of give us the behind the scenes, because you wouldn't have put yourself in that leadership category, even though I often, when I talk about you and you're not in the room, I often call you the fearless leader.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, so you and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago and we talked about like identifying with the word Christian leader. And I responded to you and said like, well, I don't know if I fit in that category. And you were like, what? You don't think you're a leader? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And that just like took us off into a tangent and then brought us here eventually. But I guess when I think of leadership, and I think of myself, my gut reaction isn't like, yep, I'm a leader. I don't know why. I think if I like spend time thinking about it, I think I start to compartmentalize the word leader. Like, what does a leader look like in my career? What does a leader look like in my community, in my church? And I can like identify leadership qualities within myself. And I can like, when I take your definition of like, do I have influence? The answer is yes. And so I can start to claim the word leader in my life. But my gut reaction when I'm asked, are you a leader, is no. And I don't quite know why that's my gut reaction.
I think a lot of people are hesitant to accept the responsibility that comes with that term.
Yes.
But
100%.
I would say that you're not a person that shies away from responsibility. That's not been my experience with you at all.
Right.
Is it more about a perception around leadership, do you think?
Yeah, I guess it's like maybe there's an ego check there of like, if I call myself a leader, it means this thing and that thing about how I see myself. And I'd be curious. I think I hesitate calling myself a leader because maybe there's a fear of like other people not seeing me as a leader and being like, what? Like, I don't know. It seems maybe a little presumptuous to be like, yeah, I'm a leader. Like, do other people think I'm a leader? Like, when you told me, I think you're a leader, that like was like, oh, okay, I'm happy to accept that. I guess I just didn't want to be the first person to be like, I'm a leader. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I mean, in fairness, though, right? Like the best leaders never have to assert their leadership in title, right? And certainly you've never come in and been like, hey, I'm the boss here, right? That's not your style. That's not how you've ever operated. So I think kind of that servant leadership mantra. Now, I think that there's probably a bunch of people listening who are like, so wait, Fallon, what is your job? How would you how would you describe what you do to someone who's not already on the podcast network?
Sure. So my official title is Director of Operations. And so because we're a small team, I wear a lot of different hats, but I was first hired on to really build systems and processes for how we operate as a business. And from there, it's kind of morphed into kind of being like the first person of contact when someone wants to learn about the network or join the network or, wants to purchase one of our services. I'm just kind of the face of the network as far as like the first person you talk to on our team. And so within that, there's just a lot of like, customer service, personal relationship building, managing relationships within our network with our host. And so I see myself as like, kind of just like, what's the right word I'd want to say? Kind of like your like liaison between the work that you do in our network and how we can get to do it together. And so, yeah, when someone comes to the network, I get to tell them about the network, what we do. I get to show them how they can be involved, how we could serve them. And then once they're in the fold, I get to just like link arms with them and make sure that they're being served in the best way possible by our network. I get to answer questions that they have about podcast industry or whatever it is. Advertising, branding, marketing. And I just kind of get to be like a team member, like a team support for our host and their teams. So yeah, so that's kind of my role, like outward facing for the network. And then internally, I help lead our team as far as like, I lead our weekly staff meetings and I just kind of make sure everyone on the team has the things they need. I make sure like birthdays are acknowledged. It's kind of like a semi-HR position, I guess. So I guess there's the best way to describe my role now that I'm like saying it out loud is just like, I'm kind of a caregiver. Like I'm a caregiver for our hosts and I'm a caregiver for our team. And just making sure that things are running smoothly and things are getting done and promises are being kept and we're moving forward the best way possible. So I think there's like different roles on our team that like make sure this business is thriving moving forward. It's definitely just like not me only in different capacities. People have a role to make that happen. But mine's like the people focused part of it.
Yeah, in some ways, I always think of you as like, oh, Fallon's the gasoline that really stirs up the fire, right? Like your job is to keep catalyzing things forward. And the network is, people hear the word network and I think they might underestimate how big it is. How many shows are on the network? How many people do you think that the network touches on a monthly basis? Like if you were just give raw numbers.
Yeah, so we serve currently like 53 shows in total in different capacities. And our like output, we say like we serve podcast creators and then on top of that, podcast listeners.
That's an insane amount of influence that you have, right? Like, so when you put it like that, it's like, whoa, right? And so I'm also always curious. One of the themes that I feel like I can see throughout your life is this idea of caregiver. I'm curious, how would you describe the calling that God has placed on you?
Oh, man. I think that's so funny that you're asking me that question because I'm currently in the middle of listening to a podcast episode that's talking about like atheism versus Christianity versus like Christian spiritualism, or not Christian spiritualism, like spiritualism just as a wider definition and how it points to people's purpose and meaning.
Mm.
So I've been like sitting with my own kind of like, what do I think my purpose and meaning is? And as convicted as I am about the person of Jesus, and I believe in God and a higher being, I also have a ton of questions of like what comes with that.
Yeah.
And if I could distill like one thing that I'm like, I know for sure that I don't question this and I know this is true, is that God calls, I would say all of us, but I feel a personal experience in calling for this, that God calls me to just love people really well and care for people really well. Because there's so many questions about like, is this okay? Is that okay? Is this wrong? Is, like, what's right? What's wrong? And I think there's so many questions for me around that. But the one thing that I never question is like, if there's anything that I know to do, it's just to love people well. And if people ask me like, where does that come from? I get to point to Jesus and say like, I believe in this crazy guy and this God. And to a certain extent, I can like share with people why I believe. Like there's certain things that I'm like, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to me. And then it always gets to a point where I'm just like, I just can't explain the belief and faith that I have. It's almost like this internal knowing that like, it's inexplicable. It's just like, with all the questions that I have always had this deep knowing that Jesus is real. And I wish everyone felt that way. I don't know why there's some of us that feel that way and some of us that don't. It's a question that I ask God of like, why can't you just make everyone have that internal knowing and we'd be all in the same boat,
Right.
But yeah, I just always come back to like that inexplicable knowing. And then my purpose is to just love the people he's created and the world that he's made.
I love that. I think it's a testament to the kind of work that you do, right? Like in taking care of people internally, being the liaison externally. So that makes a lot of sense to me. One of the things that I was surprised to see is kind of the stark places where you've lived and worked. Right. And so you went to college at Hope College in Holland, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And then you decided to go to New York City and become a page for the late night show with David Letterman.
Yeah.
Talk to me. That could not feel more polar opposite than the world, than those Holland, Michigan and New York City.
Sure.
Talk to me about how did you get the job? Right. Mm-hmm. And second of all, what was it like? Tell me about that year with Letterman.
Yeah. So my choice to go to Hope was, I don't know. I was never like a huge forward thinker. Like career-wise and education-wise, it was never like one day I want to be a doctor or I want to be a astronaut. Like I just never had like huge like visions or goals for what I wanted to do with my life. And so because of that, I didn't like look out for schools early on to be like, well, this school offers this and I can go there because they're the best school for that. So it wasn't until my senior year that I truly like started thinking seriously about like, well, I need to pick a school. It's, in 12 months, I need to be somewhere. And so just being in Michigan, obviously I started there. So University of Michigan was on the table, and then Hope was just like a school that I had heard of. They came to visit my high school. I knew a couple friends, like older siblings that have gone to Hope, and it was 45 minutes from my hometown. So I was like, great, let's go check it out. Went to visit, and it was just like the most beautiful campus. I just was like, it was just one of those feelings, which I felt the same feeling when I came to Nashville. It was just like, oh, this feels right. Like, again, a little bit inexplicable, but it just feels right. And so, yeah, I was like, this is great. 2 of my close friends from high school also decided to go to Hope. So that was like bonus, And so, yeah, went to Hope, studied communications because I did not know what the Lord had for me.
And Spanish, though, too, didn't you?
And Spanish. Yeah,
right.
Major.
That's amazing because one wasn't enough.
Yeah, no. Had to do a couple. So, yeah. And then had always had a huge love for New York City. I think I've always been really interested in like television, movies, media. And so obviously New York is one of like the capital cities of entertainment. So I've just always been like, oh, New York, what a awesome place to be. So I visited New York when I was a freshman in college. It was like a May term. I went out there for a trip to get some like theater credit or something, and just loved it. Again, just had a feeling when I was there of like, oh, I want to spend more time here. This is a great spot. Fast forward to my senior year, I had an internship out in New York and was only there for 4 months. Loved it. And when I came back, I was like, that wasn't enough. I need to go back out to New York. So graduated from Hope. Again, did not have any like career next steps after graduating. During the summers, I would work at a radio station, do promotions for them. I did a little bit of DJing, but didn't have any like grand plans after graduation. Yeah. So my grand plan was to move to New York City without a job. And that's what I did. And luckily, my mom was the, typical like, New York's not safe. You don't even know what you're doing. You're only 21 years old. Like, is this a good idea? And then I had a dad that was like, do it. Like, this is the time of your life. You need to do it. Like, if you get out there and for whatever reason it's not a good fit, you can just come home. So I really applaud my dad for kind of giving me that permission to go, because it was scary. It was like, wait, Can I do this? I'm like just out of college. I'm just an adult. What? So anyways, made my way out there without a job, but I did have a place to live. So I always say, like, when you're thinking of moving to a big city, either you have a place to live or you have a place to work. If you have one, you'll figure out the other. So I had a place to live, and within a week, I did get a job, which was great. I worked at J. Crew. I worked in retail.
Yeah, you did.
And it was just like the perfect job to like allow me to kind of like discover like other more like, formidable jobs. And one of those opportunities was David Letterman. So small world, I was at J. Crew just doing my job, folding some cashmere, and a girl came in and we just struck up conversation, and she shared with me that she was a page at David Letterman. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like, tell me about the job. And she told me about it. She's like, you should apply. And I was like, what? She's like, oh my gosh, you'd be great. Like, they just need people that are energetic and like can get the audience like excited for the show. And she's like, you're pretty much just like a glorified cheerleader. Like, you just want to bring the energy. And she's like, you should totally apply. And I was like, okay, do you mind like connecting me? She's like, yep, I'm going to connect to you tonight via email with my boss and yada, yada, yada. Long story short, I applied, I got a job with them, and I was there for a year. Most people stay for like 8 months to a year. I think I was there a year and a half. And we work in the audience department. So we are in charge of, getting people tickets. Literally, we would go out to Times Square and like put on these little like contests to get people to get tickets to David Letterman. And then when they came to the studio for the taping, we'd pretty much like host them, make sure they were lined up, check their names, gave them the whole spiel of how to act, kind of like pumped them up for the show, and then kind of played like glorified security guards once they were in there, just like making sure people weren't acting a fool and like being respectful of the show and just making sure that they had a great experience. So yeah, that was how I made it from Hope to David.
What's interesting about that though is there's a spirit of boldness in the way that I have like see that you lead and the way that you do things. Mm-hmm. How do you know? You talked a little bit about that feeling, but let's say that there's a leader out there who's wrestling with whether or not they should take the bold move, the bold step, the move to New York, or the college that wasn't really on the radar, or the job that really you didn't even know was an opportunity.
Yeah.
How do you discern what boldness is right versus what boldness is,
Yeah. I think I always have the mindset of like, you're never stuck somewhere. So like, even if you make a decision, it's not like, oh, I have to live in New York City for the rest of my life, or I have to be in this job for the rest of my life. Like, you can always pivot and change if for whatever reason you made the quote unquote wrong decision, or if it's just not a good fit. So I think having that mindset of just knowing like this one decision is not going to like keep you in a place where you don't belong. And then also I think like, just having wise people around you to like talk through it and just be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Like, obviously being 21, those people were my parents. So,
sure.
I think my mom eventually would have come around and been like, okay, I trust you. I believe in you. You can do it, which she did. But without my dad really being like, no, you could totally do this. Maybe I wouldn't have gone. Like, I think he really did instill me with like some courage that I didn't know I needed. Because I was even questioning, like, as amazing as New York City sounds, that feels like a crazy thing to do at my age. And without a job, like, that kind of sounds dumb. What am I thinking? But just to have, like, his wise counsel of, again, he was the one that always says, like, hey, if you go somewhere or a part of something and it's not a great fit, you can always come back home. So yeah, I think having that mindset and then having wise counsel around you to kind of chat about it with you and kind of give their expertise. And also at the end of the day, I think there's some sort of like inner confidence you have to have of like, this is my decision at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And I think we all kind of know when we're making like a wild, unwise choice and we're making like a courageous, we'll see how this goes choice. You know, we can only make choices with the information we have in front of us at that time. And so as long as we're making the best decision with that information, like, go for it. And when you get more information, like if you go to New York and you get more information, meaning like, oh, this city is a lot louder and I am not, you know, cut out for this kind of lifestyle. That is information you didn't know until you got there to experience it. So now you can make the next best decision for you. So yeah, that would be my advice.
So fast forward, you move to Nashville, you're doing the Nashville thing.
Yeah.
And, you start working for That Sounds Fun. And now one of the things that I've seen that you do recently to continue to push yourself out of your comfort zone is improv. Can we talk about improv?
I love it so much.
Okay, so give me the story because I think a lot of people like the idea of improv, but actually showing up to do it and then to actually get into a troupe, or that's the right term, right?
Yep,
troupe.
you got it.
And then like make it a part. Now it's like it feels like as I watch you do it, I'm like, oh, this is Fallon's drug right now. Like she loves this.
I do.
And I mean that in a good way, right?
Yeah,
in the best way. So talk to me about the decision to do it and then to fall in love with it and now how it's a part of your life.
So improv has been kind of like one of those things that I've just always admired and enjoyed and wanted to do. My internship back in New York that I didn't mention was with Saturday Night Live. I worked with them for 4 months in their music department.
Wow.
And so just like being in that world, already being a fan of the show, but then getting to be a part of it in the smallest capacity was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, this is what I want to be a part of. So with that, improv was just always that thing that was like, I really want to try that. I don't know why it took me so long to do it. Maybe I wasn't really seeing many opportunities to do it. Like Hope, I don't think had any like improv programs. We had something called NYKirk, which was like a competition between the even year and the odd year women. And there's like a singing portion, a play portion, and like speech portion. And so I was part of the play portion. So it kind of got me into that world a little bit. But I finally came to Nashville and had heard about Third Coast Comedy Club and Training Center is where I've done all my improv. And went to a couple shows there. And I actually went to a show there with my friend Maggie for her birthday. And we were sitting in the front row. And she was like, you need to do this. Like, you totally fit into this world. Like, this is so you. You need to do this. And I was like, you know, I've always wanted to do it. And I've had like other people mention, like, you would be great at improv. You should try the improv. So for whatever reason, the time felt right, and I decided to sign up for classes at Third Coast. And they have a program that it's six levels. For 8 weeks, you meet once a week for 3 hours. And, you know, it's introduction to improv, and then you're kind of like building on those fundamentals and learning short form improv and then long form improv. You get a little like peek into musical improv. And then by the end of the 6 levels, if you've gone all the way, there's opportunity to like try out for house teams to start performing with them at a regular cadence. And so I was able to join one of their house teams that typically is made up of recent graduates, and it's kind of the next step into being a performer. So I've been able to be with them for the past year or so. We perform, you know, once a month on Sundays. It's great. And then just being within that circle of performers, like one of my instructors reached out to me and a handful of other improvisers and said like, hey, I have an idea of a form. Would you like to get together and try this out and perform at a couple different shows and kind of see how it does, see how it's received, see if you guys have fun doing it. So that started a different troupe that I've been able to perform with. And then they have auditions once a year at Third Coast. And I wasn't even gonna audition because it just felt like maybe similar to the leadership question. I was like, oh, that's not for me. Like that, like it's fun to do it, but to like have someone judge me on it and be like, you're in or you're out. Like, I'm not at that level yet. But again, from the encouragement of friends, you're like, honestly, it's less about making a troupe or making a team. And it's more about just getting the experience of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable in the space of like, someone's going to give you some feedback. And not that that's not happening in classes, but like, I don't know. I'm sure actors feel this way. Like in auditions, it's just like higher stakes. So I ended up doing it again with the idea of like, I'm just going to do this for the experience. And also like in my life in general, there's not a lot of places where I am put in uncomfortable situations or that I feel uncomfortable. Improv is the one thing in my life that it's a constant call to being courageous in the face of fear. I don't do improv because it's easy. I do it because it challenges me in a lot of ways, and it makes me show up when I'm scared every single time. I mean, I've been doing improv now for 3 years, almost 4 years, and every time I'm on stage, I am a nervous wreck. Every time, even though I've performed now hundreds of times. I think that's true for most people in some aspect. I mean, there's some amazing improvisers out there that can just be like, I'm just here to play and show up. I'm like, teach me your ways. How can it be like that? But for the most part, I just value it being a place where out of discomfort, I'm growing in some capacity. So anyways, I auditioned and then I ended up getting asked to be an understudy for the main stage troupe, which meant I got to rehearse and perform with the group that performs every Friday and Saturday at the club. And so, I'm working with the best of the best and felt so honored to be able to work with them, was so scared every time I rehearsed with them because it's just so intimidating being around that kind of talent. But of course, just felt like so honored to be a part of it. So because of that, I'm now out of that understudy program. But whenever they need someone to like come perform on Friday or Saturday nights, they'll, email me and ask me to join them. So tonight I'm performing with Main Stage at Third Coast, and I'm going to be wearing a costume, and it's going to be so much fun. So
that I'm really curious about that constant state of being uncomfortable. I think a lot of leaders fight it. They know that they need it, but they fight it. And I can't imagine that there's a lot of people who would stay uncomfortable for 3 or 4 years consistently. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about the benefit of that. Like, how have you seen you show up differently in all the other rooms that you're in because of improv or because of being uncomfortable?
Sure. One of the main rules or lessons that you're taught in improv is just to be present. You're just there to show up and kind of discover what the scene or your scene partner has for you, or even what like comes out of your own mouth, because you don't know what's going to come out half the time because you're building on the story,
Sure.
And so in life, I'm very planned. I like making plans. I like knowing what's coming up. I have a paper planner. I've always had a paper planner. Like, I just love having expectations, knowing what people need from me, what I want for myself. I'm very disciplined. And so I tend to like make plans in order to make sure that like whatever I'm participating in is good use of my time or successful in whatever definition that means. And in improv, there is no pre-planning. Like that is a thing that you do not do. It is not pre-planning. It is showing up and just being present and open and listening. I always thought I was a good listener, and then I joined improv and I was like, I have to work on my listening. So in that, obviously it takes courage to like, for someone that is a planner and likes to know what's coming, like that is a scary place to step into. And even more than just like not knowing what's happening, my biggest problem in improv, or my biggest like hurdle that I'm trying to get over, is meeting people's expectation, whether that's my scene partner or the audience. Because when someone buys a ticket to Third Coast Comedy Club, the expectation is they will laugh. And so I have that in my head of like, okay, I need to make sure to make them laugh. And another rule of improv is don't be funny. Like, you're supposed to show up and just play real, and the connection that the audience has with like the relatability of like, oh, that's so true, that's so real, is actually what's creating the comedy. And so I've had to learn that like, even though the expectation of the attendee is to laugh. My job is not to make sure that laugh happens. My job is to make sure that I just show up, have fun, be honest, listen, be present, and then the laughter will come from being obedient to all of those things. But of course, just with my personality, you'll always in the back of my head, I have like they have an expectation, don't let them down. And to have to like have the courage to move past that voice or like to shut down that voice and just be like, you know what, even if they don't laugh at one thing I say, as long as I show up and I'm present, like that's actually what meeting the expectation is something that I have to battle with every time. And some nights, like I show up and I have the most fun because I just am not caring and I'm just listening and showing up. And usually those are the most, like, for the audience and myself, the most enjoyable nights. It's actually when I get in my own head and I like try to meet the like listener expectation or the, audience expectation of be funny. That's when I'm like, it's not that funny because I'm just overthinking it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Is there alcohol involved? Just enough to take the edge off?
Yeah, sometimes
I feel like it would be might be a little easier. I'm just curious. We're all about tools here, right?
Yeah, totally.
One of the unique roles that you have is that you are kind of the integrator, the organizer, the operations person for a lot of creatives.
Yes.
Right. And so all of these creatives are all living lives that are kind of run parallel to what you're trying to do. And over the years, you have wrangled some of the best creative people probably in the world. And so I'm curious, as you're talking to leaders out there who might be a little bit more type A, and maybe they're working with someone who's like, schedules, nah, that's a figment of our imaginations, right? There's no need to respond to text messages or emails. Or just go with the flow. Let's just, basically Fallon in improv. They're Fallon in improv, but all the time.
Yeah.
What are some of the tips that we can steal from you on how to deal with creative personalities that don't feel like they fit in my type A personality box?
Yeah. I would say just having a mindset of like everyone has their own like skill set that they're bringing to the relationship, because like if everyone was type A in planning and rules, it would be very boring. Like there's a lot of things that a maybe more type B or creative person brings to the table that I just don't have a skill set for or a propensity for. And it only works if like we're all bringing our tools together to work in tandem. So I would say just like having that mindset of like, you actually need both sides working together to like make this thing work. So like seeing where, and sometimes it could be annoying that that person is a little more like
aloof.
Who cares? Let's just show up and see. Like instead of that being a point of frustration, it can be like, great, they're going to bring that energy and I'm going to bring a more scheduled, routine energy. And together that's going to make something really beautiful work. Because there's some days I'm like, I wish I could just be like, who cares? Like, I'll just see what life has for me. Like, there are times I wish I was more like that. But it's sweet that I get to work with a lot of creatives that do bring that energy, and I get to support them by being the like lines, the grid that kind of keeps everything in line. And knowing that like, because they're bringing a different energy than I am, I'm actually helping them. I'm serving them by bringing something that's not there. So it actually kind of fulfills the part of me that wants to like, again, meet people's expectations or help them in some way or serve them. It's like, you don't have that propensity. I do. Let me step in and solve some problems that maybe with my unique, mindset or way I kind of make sense of the world could affect this whatever in a positive way. So I would say like welcome it, I guess, at the end of it. Just like welcome that difference and
yeah, one of the things I heard there in that answer is be curious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, be curious about it. Like if you can be curious about it, like you said, you can welcome it. Like you can appreciate it, right? If you're curious about it. Like, oh man, I can't imagine what it's like to live that way. But like how great is it that they can?
Yes.
Right.
Curiosity is one of my favorite tools or experiences in life that we can have, because it not only does it open yourself up to like new things, but it's also just like a kind way to engage with other people. I notice that when I stay in a place of curiosity, I'm just way more kind to people. I'm way less judgy. I'm way more soft. I'm just like, I lean into people more because I'm in a place of like interest versus like, whoa, that's different, not interested, wrong. Like that moves me away from people. And the last thing I want to do in life is be away from people. If you know me, if I'm not with someone, if I'm alone for more than like 5 minutes, I start to panic. I'm like, where are people? Where are my people? So any place where I feel like I'm moved toward people, that's where I want to be. And that's what I think curiosity does for me, is moves me toward people.
One of my definitions for grace in action is curiosity plus empathy.
That's
how we can show the unmerited favor is grace. Grace, and then grace played out is curiosity and empathy. So if you're not sure how to be more graceful, then just be more curious and more empathetic.
Yes, that's so good. I one of my other mantras in life is when we're in relationship with other people, we only really owe them two things: our kindness and our honesty. But lately I've been thinking I think I would add a third, and that would be curiosity. To your point of it's not just curiosity, but what curiosity builds is kindness, empathy, an interest in the other person. And so I love that. That's really good.
It's a lifelong journey for sure, right? I always tell married couples, you got to give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. That's how I remember it.
I love it. The bod.
Yeah, the bod. Yeah, give your spouse the bod.
Yeah, the bod. I love it. I love it. That's good to know. I'm gonna, I'm getting married in a year, so I'm gonna keep that in my tool belt.
I'm excited to watch that journey unfold too.
Thank you.
Nothing changes your leadership like a spouse.
Is that good or bad?
Yes.
Yeah, it's both.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I love it.
I have one more question to ask you, but before I do, I know that the bold ones are going to want to find you all over the interwebs. Where is the best place to learn all things Fallon and the network?
Yeah, so you can learn more about the network at thatsoundsfunnetwork.com. We're on Instagram, TSF Network. We're on Facebook, That Sounds Fun Network. And yeah, we would love to know you too. So if you come across us, send us a message, make a comment. We just love knowing more about.
And if you're in the creative world, I will say this: you guys do a great job with your email. The after party, it's really good. It's creative resources there. So I know a lot of leaders who are listening who are trying to think about ways to get more creative and more engaged. Yeah. Podcasts are a great way to do that. It's absolutely so much fun.
Yes, please come meet us over at the after party. And for me personally, you could find me on Instagram, I guess. I'm not really very active on it. And in fact, I think I'm private. So, just go visit the network and you'll come across me. Yeah.
For sure. Or go to the comedy club on,
There you go.
Check out
Third Coast. Yeah.
Third
Coast Comedy Club.
Love it. Love it. Okay, last question I'm asking people this year.
Yeah.
Because as you know, we're wrestling with leadership and what that means. 12 questions around leadership, one new question every month. But the question that I want to end with this year is, tell me about your favorite leader and what made them the best.
Wow. My favorite leader. That is such a hard question in a good way, because I'm thinking of so many people popping into my head. Who do I go with? Tony, this is really hard.
Thank you.
This is really hard, especially for someone that's I want to make sure I'm giving love to all of the amazing leaders that have been in my life. Okay, I'm going to start with an OG. With the caveat being, I literally have so many of all my jobs. I've never had a bad boss. I've truly had just amazing bosses.
That's awesome.
Kelly and Annie are some of the most amazing leaders I've ever had in my life. But I'll start with my OG, and one of my favorite leaders was my youth pastor growing up. In a little quick backstory, I used to go to private school at a Lutheran school / church up till 5th grade. And then in 6th grade, I started going to public school, which then the cool thing to do in middle school was to go to youth group at First Church of God. So of course, I started doing that with my friends. But in that, I had this amazing youth leader named Chris Spitters, who I think growing up in a church that was, pretty strict, pretty legalistic views, there always felt like a sense of hierarchy there. This new kind of walk in faith for me introduced me to someone that was so kid-like, even though he was a leader and above us and leading us, he just also felt like one of us. He just met us where we were at. So there was less of this order and rules, and maybe even in that some fear of ooh, I hope I'm following the rules. And he just kind of played. He was just there to play with us and have fun and teach us about Jesus, but also be at our level and be goofy. And I just had never really experienced that in a church setting before. And because of that, my respect for him, not that I didn't respect leaders at my former church, but it was just I think the respect was quicker and maybe a little more honest, because it was less based out of fear and more just I'm sensing something really good here in this person. And to your point earlier, he wasn't touting his leadership. He really felt like one of us. He was just a little kid at heart.
That's amazing.
But out of that, whenever there was quote unquote discipline or, some more front-facing leadership from his behavior, we accepted it and we respected it, because it was he's built this repertoire that made us trust him and honor him. And I remember we used to go on weekend retreats in middle school. And I don't know why, Tony, I'm so embarrassed, but one night we were all in a group prayer and my friend and I were giggling during the prayer.
Love it.
Don't know why we thought it was the good time to be giggling during prayer. But afterward, Chris came over to us and said, I heard you guys giggling during the prayer, and I'm not mad at you guys. I'm just really disappointed.
The hammer right off the top rope.
Felt more shame in my entire life. But it was also that kind of his approach was not going to be I want to make you feel shame, or oh my gosh, I'm so angry with you. This is crazy that you would do that, or make us feel dumb. It was just man, I'm disappointed because I know you're better than that. And I respect who you guys are as humans, and you're smart, and you know what to do when we're praying together, and you missed an opportunity to be with the Lord. And man, I'm disappointed. And I obviously, that was what, 25 years ago? I still remember that today. And I bet you if he would have been oh, I'm so mad at you, it would probably have been a moment that I wanted to forget, because it was oh, whatever, he's mad, I did something wrong. But it was just very poignant that he was able to really meet us. And I guess in all of that, I'm saying that what his leadership meant for me was just, it came out of love and it came out of care. And I want to replicate that. Whether I'm in a leadership position or I'm a follower in a situation, I want to show up to love people and care for people. And if I can do those things, I can make mistakes along the way. But if those two things are pretty constant, I'm okay with the mistakes.
That's so good. Fallon, thank you so much. You're so good at this. I appreciate you for being so generous and
of course
for sharing your heart today and for leading so well at the network.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me own that, because a couple weeks ago I was no, I'm not a leader. And just after having discussions with you in this time, I feel I can own that more. So I really appreciate you helping me grow on that.
Hey friends, what an incredible episode. I'm so thankful for Fallon, for the work that she does, for all podcasts, and for me especially. Would not be here without her. She is an absolute incredible leader. Now, I want to remind you about our coach's question. That's right. At the end of every episode this year, we're doing a coach's question. And here's the question I have for you today. Where in your life do you already have influence? And how are you intentionally or unintentionally showing up? Right? How are you leaning in with curiosity, care, and presence in that space? Where in your life do you already have influence? And how are you intentionally showing up with curiosity, care, and presence in that space? 2 episodes in, and I already really believe that influence, if you have influence, you're a leader. Let's keep leaning in together and see where we go with all of this. Thankful for you. Don't forget to hit up the benchmark, follow the number 2, leadbenchmark.com. And remember, if you want to follow Jesus, you must be willing to move.